The first time I saw this, I thought to myself, oh my god, this is ginormous.
Pokemon Ranger, I choose you!
What's up my dear boys and girls, it's your Ranger Boy here and welcome to another review of Pokemon Horizons after my very inappropriate intro. But was there anything else that stood out? Well, if you want to know more, then grab some popcorn, grab some cookies, and let's do this. Of course, we are about to solve the mystery of the forest guardian Arboliva, but before we are about to tackle that, our girl Liko has one other secret to uncover. She remembers her friend Dot blasting Nidofing's YouTube music out of her room, okay, that she has a Quaxly just like her idol, and that she has a Nidofing costume, oh my god, she knows. And Dot knows that she knows, which is why she was about to confess everything, that Dot is indeed a Nidofing. Super fan! Wait, what? Quaxly is like, okay, we will run with that. And yes, indeed, everything that Liko has seen, every evidence that she has witnessed, and every time Dot exposed herself. And that is the conclusion that she comes up with? Have you ever seen a character this dense and this oblivious? Yeah. I know guys. Then from this rather comedic opening, we then make a switch to a more serious looking situation, with Molly on her phone with her family, and apparently she seems to have some kind of family issues with reasons yet to be seen. But after seeing news about a burnt down forest, which is also the same place where both Liko and Roy are heading towards too, the Rising Voltecla nurse decides to head there as well for, well, reasons also yet to be seen. Very mysterious. So it's Liko, Roy, Molly, and Nemona! Oh my god! She's finally getting more screen time. I can't wait to see more of her.
じゃあ頑張ってね。ありがとう。
So, it's only Liko, Roy and Molly witnessing the tragedies of the burnt down forest in search for clues in regards of Black Rayquaza. And after entering an unharmed area of said forest, the always so eager acting Roy runs straight into the forest right towards the very suspicious looking tree, which is also their arranged meeting point. After a short scene of the remaining Rising Volteclas worrying about the children, we make a smooth transition to one of the more interesting scenes in this episode, a sit-down talk between the girls. After Liko got called out for being a quote-unquote pampered princess because of her not knowing much about this forest despite being from Paldea, the princess of Paldea defends her lack of knowledge by saying that she never could visit the forest since her parents were always busy. That leads to the topic of Liko's parents themselves, what jobs they have and who Liko aspires more to be like. And after saying that she resembles neither of them, she does admit that it would be easier for her if she did, since with her current situation she has no goal or career in mind. But then Molly interrupts that claim by saying it would be weird if someone her age would already plan her future. And you know, looking back at the Pokemon anime, that's a bold statement. And then we finally get something that I didn't expect from this episode, but still was necessary. A little bit of background story from side characters. It turns out that Molly stems from a family of doctors, and that unlike Liko, she already had a path set by her parents. Once again, does sound familiar. And Molly never really rejected her parents' demands, but instead just did as she was told to. And to be fair, she did like the job at the Pokemon Center, but one day she decided to quit the job for reasons we will find out in the distant future, aka also this episode. But honestly, this part right here was really good. So good, in fact, that I totally forgot about the main plot. So let's return back. Liko gets lost while collecting berries, and therefore she heads towards the meeting spot, aka the suspicious looking tree. Meanwhile, Roy climbs up that suspicious looking tree because he's Roy, and Roy likes climbing on trees. And during that climb, he encounters another ancient Pokeball, and he has to get it because he's Roy. But surprise, surprise, the tree is actually the giant Pokemon Abalova that they heard stories about. The earthquake caused by that Pokemon makes Liko worried, and therefore she heads towards the tree. While running in that direction, she discovers an injured Wooper, and while trying to treat it, several wild Pokemon assume that Liko wants to harm their friend and run away with it. Naturally, Liko chases them, and while trying to talk some sense to the other Pokemon, Molly jumps straight into the chaos and treats the injured Wooper, while also revealing why she quit her job, because within the Pokemon Center you can only treat the Pokemon that arrive at the building, but not all of the countless other wild Pokemon who also could be injured. Waiting for those injured Pokemon to arrive is not really in Molly's nature, and therefore she decided to quit her job to set out on her own to treat the helpless wild Pokemon in need. That's actually a really amazing motivation. And thanks to that, I once again forgot about, you know, the main plot. Abalova also thinks that humans bad, trying to hurt my friends, and attacks both Liko and Roy. Our heroes decide to not battle it, but instead distract it until Molly finished treating the injured Pokemon. They successfully distracted, but when Abalova was about to finish them off, Wooper appears and pleads for the Forest Guardian to spare the children, and Abalova is like, humans, Good, fist bumps Molly, and with a painful cry of sorrow, like seriously, it really sounds painful. It shows the children the extent of the damaged forest, and that's the episode. Wait a minute, it's already over? Impressions, I guess. As you can tell from my recap, there were things in this episode that did stood out and things that didn't. Usually I start with the positives, but this time I want to start off with the negative first, since this will be done very quick. All in all, story was both really boring and really by the numbers. When last week's episode ended with the reveal of Abalova and all the mystery surrounding it and the connections to Rayquaza, I expected some uncovering of secrets, maybe a little bit of lore, and also some nice animations sprinkled into it. And even though animation wise it was alright, the rest was really not that special. Instead of things like secrets and lore, the only thing we got was your typical by the numbers plot of wild Pokemon misunderstanding and mistrusting humans as their enemies. And through the power of friendship, they cleared that mistake and now are friends, and together they will work hard to restore the forest. The only thing even resembling something interesting was that Abalova has another ancient Pokeball in its possession, which in all honesty was the only reason I didn't totally ignore the quote-unquote main story. Fortunately enough, but also unexpectedly enough, this episode was saved by one thing. Everything in regards of Molly. Her background story, her complicated relationship with her parents, and also her overall relationship with the job as a nurse within the Pokemon Center. With her background story of her being part of the doctor's family, she tried to give the aimless Liko some good life advice, and that unlike her past, Liko shouldn't follow the footsteps of her parents, but instead start thinking for herself of what she really wants, and that it will take some time. Naturally, many fans will draw similarities between Molly's story and the stories of both Dawn and Serena, because all three have the motive of pressure from parents in common. And in my opinion, it's kinda interesting how you can use the same trope again and again, and even till this day, it still works. I think mostly because it's a relatable topic to everyone. But needless to say, even though Molly's story seems to start very similar to those other two popular Pokegirls, there are also fine details that makes her different from them. When Dawn started her story, she gladly followed her mom's footsteps of becoming a top coordinator, but with the reputation and fame of her mom, she constantly put pressure on herself to the point of breakdown because she didn't want to disappoint her. With Molly, she also did follow the path that was set for her, and surely with the entire family being doctors, she must have felt some sort of pressure as well. But that reputation and pressure of her parents didn't stop her from thinking outside of the box and expand her job to even outside of the limitation that was the Pokemon Center. Comparing Molly to Serena is also a really interesting aspect. Unlike Molly, Serena didn't really want to follow the career set by her mom and instead tried to find what she really wanted in life. But then, just like Molly, she decided to make a career in her own way, thinking outside of the box, which resulted in both Serena and Molly rebelling against their parents. Speaking of similarities towards Serena, it's also nice how the conversation between Molly and Liko reminded me a lot of the conversation between Serena and Koharu, with Molly also showcasing her past and how it will take some time for Liko to find what is right for her. On the one hand, I like the advice given by Molly and that it's another little step for Liko to move forward. But on the other hand, Liko really does feel a little bit like Koharu and that she's still somewhat aimless. Of course, she won't end up exactly like Koharu because unlike the Gen 8 girl, she's actually established as not only the main character, but without a shadow of a doubt, she is the face of this new Anime-Poke franchise. But already seeing Liko being compared to Koharu and the way the writers neglected Koharu in the past does make me a little bit worried. But for the majority, I do have the feeling that they will treat Liko much better. But anyway, as you can see, there are both similarities and differences that really makes Molly stand out, and maybe stand out a little bit too much, because her overall great establishment of character in a way really overshadowed the actual main story, which in all honesty is kind of a shame. Anyway guys, I really hope you enjoyed this review. What is your opinion on the episode itself, and what is your opinion on Molly? Tell me, and just like always, see you guys in the comments down below. Bye guys!